The studio might be a little bit loud at the moment. I am just stitching the last row of a quilt right now. But today I'm going to be quilting live on this Cats and Pajamas quilt. This was made by Ivy in Kamloops BC. She's a really good client of mine. And I'm going to be doing some light custom quilting on this today. So let's go down to the machine and get stitching. All right. Turn on the machine here. And get set up. Now, just trying really hard not to push. Here we go in here. All right. So we're kind of focused. Hello. I know it's not my normal live day, but I decided just to give her a go today anyways. All right. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some light custom quilting, like I said on this. Sorry, I'm covering it up a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't mount my camera the same as I do in my videos. I have to kind of have it at this awkward sort of angle, but it is what it is. So I'm going to start off with a really big swirl going across this quilt to sort of sit in the background and fill up some of this negative space. I'm working at 12 stitches per inch on my handy quilter Vante. I'm not really able to watch the comment section because I'm watching the quilting and the comments disappear for me on this live. So I'm so sorry if you've got a burning question. Maybe you could put it in the comments section after this video uploads to YouTube. There we go. So this is kind of like a blunt swirl. And like I said, I'm not doing any like super intense custom quilting today. So that's why I decided to get this live. And hopefully Ivy's watching because this is her quilt. So you notice that I kind of started a little bit lower on the quilt today. You can see my red snapper up here. And that's because I'm trying to make this swirl kind of travel up and in a way. I didn't want it to go straight across, you know. Just make it a little bit more organic. So I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to roll back down. There we go. Now, because I am working on a pretty small machine, I do roll my quilts back and forth quite a lot. The Avante with the ruler plate on, which I keep on at all times, I think I only have about 15 inches of space to work with. So as I come around this next swirl, you can kind of see right over here the edge of the cat's tail. I'm going to be outlining these cats just to separate it from the background from the cats themselves, the piecework. So I'm just going to be aware that I don't want to get too close to this tail with my swirl. wouldn't necessarily call this ghost quilting because it's not like an actual recognizable shape, but it kind of is like ghost quilting. It's just sort of a motif or just a design that's kind of laying in the background of this quilt. Now I'm going to go around this swirl and add an echo, because these open spaces like right here, I don't want to come in with my filler design and fill this in. So I always like to add an echo around this type of a motif or swirl or something like that. And I'm trying to keep a reasonably consistent line so it all fits together pretty well. There we go. Excellent. Now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to put a filler design in the background here. I was going to go with a stipple. Again, I'm trying to keep this as a light density quilting, but I changed my mind. I'm just going to go with kind of like a circle with a bump, you know, a little bit smaller, not quite a paisley. I did paisley on the last one. This is the second one that I've quilted for Ivy. So I'm just going to go in with kind of like this sort of a shape. Changing directions and just echoing around it. It's almost like a rainbow, but not quite. I'm just trying not to take this design too seriously, which can be hard for me sometimes. I'm definitely more of like a quilt it to death sort of person, but it's really nice working on, you know, not such a dense quilting sometimes. Yeah, let's just take a quick, yeah, that looks okay. See, that line here really helps to separate this sort of filler design from the swirl. And I didn't want to make this too tight because, you know, like that'll throw off the density of the entire quilt, really. All right, let's get back in here. Sorry. Get this view right. Here we go. And back at it. Just trucking along. Oh, it's so nice and quiet in the studio right now because I've got that other machine off. Ivy actually sent me quite a few quilts, so I was just doing up a pantograph on her other quilt before I decided to go live this morning. I didn't really give people much warning, but hopefully everybody's happy to be here. This design's fairly easy to work into these spaces. As you can see, like I don't need to get too crazy with it. I can just kind of do like a little back bump there, you know, and just put a couple little things in like I've been working. There you go. That looks really good. Okay, so I am going to go all the way back over here. Actually, I have to break thread, and I'll show you why. So I have to come down to the bottom underneath this swirl now and do an echo line around it, but I kind of got a little too close to this cat's ear. So I'm actually going to start by ditching around the cat and then putting in my echo line around this cat first. And then I'll come in with that line afterwards because I want the cat to be in the forefront of the design, if that makes any sense. So that being said, I got to turn my light on and find my ruler. This is my favorite ditching ruler and straight ruler. It's by Silly Moon Quilt Company. I really like this ruler because it has beveled edges on it, so it just feels really good in my hand. I really like it. It's a nice length too. It works for most of the things that I do consistently. Sometimes I have to get a longer ruler or a shorter ruler, but this is just a nice size ruler for me. I am going to be sticking to one color of thread today too. Again, you know, I don't want to get too complex with the quilting on this quilt today. Even though it's really adorable. My 18-year-old daughter went to work this morning and she saw this quilt on the frame and she loved it. She's not much of like a pink person, but she really likes cats. And she thought this was hilarious. I'm pretty sure that this is called Cats in Pajamas by Elizabeth Hartman. I have made some Elizabeth Hartman patterns personally, and they're pretty nice. Like I really like to follow them because they're pretty basic piecing. You know, it's not like paper pieced or anything complex, just a lot of small pieces. I'm working on the flamingo one right now. It's not going great, I'm not gonna lie. I don't pick it up often enough, but I'll get to it eventually. So every time I look at it, I gotta kind of, you know, figure out where was I working last and what was I doing on this thing, but that's all right. So just ditching around this cat here. And I'm just going down to wherever my ruler plate hits, which that's it there. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to break thread. I don't mind breaking thread anymore. Like, I just break thread when I need to break thread. It's just not that big a deal. And then to do the outline, I'm going to be doing a 1/2 inch outline again, because I want to stick with sort of the density I developed right up here. So I don't want to get too dense. So with a 1/2 inch outline is this first line on my ruler. So I'm just going to line that up and figure out where I'm going to start right there. I know I'm covering it. Okay, do a couple locking stitches. All right. Line this line up. And so when you're doing a 1/2 inch, I'm really paying attention to this seam line here, right? Because I'm not going right along like you would with a 1/4 inch. It's really easy to see the edge. But I'm paying attention to this seam line as I go up on this angle. Because then I can kind of see, you know, like 1/2 inch is right here. So I can turn this and get that perfect sort of echo line there. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to everybody. And I know I can't really see the comments right now. There's no seam line on this angle, so I kind of got a guess. But because I'm traveling in straight lines, I just take an extra couple stitches. Not too serious. There we go. If you've been in one of my lives before, you might have heard me say that custom quilting is slow quilting, which it is. And I am a professional quilter, but it's still slow. Plus, I really have to take my time, you know? I mean, I'm quilting for other people, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the absolute best job I possibly can. You know, within the parameters that have been set, you know, by the owner of the quilt. See, I'm just so close to that. Oh, darn. Well, it looks like this swirl got a little too close, so the cat's ear echo is going to go around it. I don't think that's the end of the world. It's almost even cute. We're just going to roll with that. I think these angles are tough to judge. They always go up so much further than you think they are. There we go. Go down. And cool. Cool, cool, cool. And now, this is a little tricksy because I did make this swirl kind of travel, you know, kind of at an angle through here. I actually have to just echo just the top of this cat's head first too. But I'm just going to do the echo. I'm not going to ditch because I can only reach this far. I'm just going to do that so that I can complete, you know, doing the rest of this swirl here. So I'll just measure my ruler where I want to be. Some stay stitches. And away we go. Yeah, echoing like a half an inch away from things is way more difficult than echoing a 1/4 inch away. So if you're new to echoing, start with echoing a 1/4 inch away. So to echo a 1/4 inch instead of half an inch, I would have had the edge of my ruler kind of right on this seam, this black seam here. So that would have been a 1/4 inch away, and that one's a lot easier to judge than a half inch is. So if you are new to it, that's the way to do her. Okay. Snip this one here. I do stay stitches, so that's going to hold no problems. Okay, now I have to put in the echo line around this swirl. These funny little cats here. So now this swirl's going to go behind it. It's not exactly what I was going for, but it's not bad either. Sometimes I wonder if anybody even notices those little details in the quilting that I do sometimes. So I'm just feeling down here, just making sure that I'm not going to hit my belly bar, which I think I am. So I'm just going to roll up a little bit here. Let's snip this guy here. Okie dokie. Yep. And there's that swirl. Nice and in there. I'm just going to check and see how far I can go down. Almost to this. So I got to watch out for this tail too, because I'm going to have to put that echo around it. So I won't get too close to it with my filler, but I do want to get some filler in here. on the last cat quilt that I did for Ivy, I did more of a paisley shape. So this is kind of a similar shape, but not quite the same. The quilts weren't exactly the same either, so I like to have elements in each quilt that are similar, but not exactly the same. It's nice having this line here. I can travel down it and start. Not going for perfection here, but I think this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy. If I do get kind of stuck in a spot like this, I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to travel a little bit and just start again. No problem. Now I do have to do some traveling, and I've got to roll down again. All right. There we go. And a little bit more traveling to the next area here. Oh, this looks good. I'm happy. Yeah, this is cool. So I noticed the other day, I was looking at my stats on YouTube, and I realized that like 50% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to my channel, and that was really kind of not very fun. So if you aren't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you would. It's free, of course. So just in case. Oh, see, I hit the bottom here. That's why this one's a little tighter. That's fine. No big deal. I'm just going to break thread right here. That's where I'll start too. And then I'm going to roll up. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that shows up really nice. I'm happy with this. Yep, looks good. And it's still nice and soft, you know, like with this soft pink. I really like how that's coming together. So I'm just going to roll up to the next section of the quilt. I am floating my quilts. I really like floating my quilts. I don't seem to have any issues with it. But I do work, like I said earlier, on quite a bit of a smaller machine. So I'm going to have to bring this filler down, but I have to get this line in first. So, custom quilting. Now, I don't know if you noticed. Oh, you probably haven't seen yet. But there are some Tula Pink fabrics in this quilt here too. I don't know if these ones are Tula Pink, but I'm not quite sure. Does anybody know? If you do know, drop it in the comments. That'd be helpful. People always want to know those types of details. And I'm just going to go up a little bit more, right about there, so I can get that 1/2 inch in. I'm going to go and secure the sides of my quilt. A little bit of smoothing. Come to the bottom. And some stay stitches. When I base the sides of my quilt, I like to use a ruler to do that. So I'm just using the same ditch ruler. It just keeps my fingers more or less away from the needle. So I don't want to stitch through my finger again. That is never a good time. So some quick stitches there. Although when I did go through my finger that one time, I didn't bleed on the quilt, so bonus. I think it was like the shock of the whole situation, right? All right. And when I do use this stitching ruler, I'm also using like the 1/2 inch. So this, when you have a ditch ruler, usually you have the side, this is a stitch in the ditch side. So these little feet go onto your seam line. And then you have like this other side, which is stitched beside the ditch. So you would put this on your seam line and your stitches will go beside the seam instead of in the ditch. So I usually use that side when I'm coming here, and I usually smooth my fabric down, butt up against my ruler foot, and travel up. Perfect. The backing is, I think it's minky. Yeah, I've got a minky backing on here today. So I'm just using these clamps instead of the red snapper clamp. Instead of this style clamp, I'm using my regular clamps because the red snapper clamps are just kind of a pain in the butt to like get on there. So I'm just going to clamp the other side too. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is get this 1/2 inch line around these cats. And I think maybe I'll stitch them in the ditch too right now. Some right here. I just turned my light on because I need to be able to see this ditch a little bit better. I am working in the semi-darkness with the lights turned off and the shades of the window pulled because it was sunny out for like 2 minutes, but it's clouded up a little bit now, just so you can really see that relief on the camera. Yeah, we're going to come down far enough. I mentioned it earlier in case anybody's asking. I am doing 12 stitches per inch. I used to do 10. That's when I did more picking out. I don't pick out as much anymore. And when I say as much, I mean I still do it on every single quilt. It's just I'm better at, maybe I'm just better at unpicking. Maybe that's the deal. I try not to freak out about too many things nowadays. There's just more things to be worried about than having to unpick. Although I do have a video where I had to unpick like an entire quilt. That wasn't a great day. Those are pretty bad days. But a little bit of picking never hurt nobody. I really like the fabrics that Ivy chose for this quilt. Very adorable. Yeah, I've never been a Tula pink like fan because it's just not really my personal style until there isn't until here until I actually did some stitching with it. Like I actually made a little block with some Tula pink fabrics. And then I was like, oh, this is so pretty. And I was kind of, I'm not going to say I'm a convert at all, but I was definitely like impressed. I was like, oh, okay, this is probably why, because it's so stinking pretty. Because it is. It is. All right, turn this light off here. Line this up. And do the stitch around. There we go. Most of my palette, like when I make quilts, is I make a lot of quilts using like rainbows, like rainbow solids mostly. Like I kind of like to work in solids, just because I'm a long armor, so I really and I am a long armor. I'm a long armor through and through. Like I prefer to like long arm something than I would to necessarily piece it. I do still like piecing, but I always think about the quilting before I piece a quilt together. So I inevitably am drawn to more solid fabrics, because like you can see the quilting so much easier. Like this is a solid, and look at how good the quilting itself looks. And that's really where I personally shine a little bit more than my piecework. Although I do have like really lofty goals to maybe one day enter a show by myself, like to do the whole thing. I've had lots of quilts that I've quilted in shows, but nothing that I've actually made myself. Okay, so now that I've got this outline done, I'm going to just stitch the background in because, I'm right here, right? So I might as well. So I'm just going to travel up here a little bit. Let me get some of this in. And just fill this in. Oh, I'm having a hard time not wanting. I really want to do a paisley for some reason. That's okay. I think I must have just been thinking about paisley in my mind. Okie dokie. Carrying on. I'm just going to go travel this way just a little bit so that, there we go. Just get some traveling the other direction, Oh, I almost forgot, but I didn't. Whew, good thing I stopped. Which direction was I going here? We'll just go up like this. This will be fine. Then we come down. Do it here. I was like getting in the groove there. And down here. Travel back up a little bit, and then I'm just gonna come up here and I'm just gonna connect with this to finish this shape here, just so it looks good and consistent. So this isn't my normal day to be in here stitching, but that's all right. Okay, so now I'm just going to come here, boom, connect that, bring it in, almost like it never happens. Cool, now I'm just going to break thread here, and that is the lower part of this guy. Oops, I really broke thread. Okay, so now I think I'm just going to stitch in the ditch around this cat and then go put that echo in. And when I get up to this cat, I'll show you how I'm going to fill in the pajamas. Oh, I see some questions coming up, but they come up in the chat, but then they disappear almost immediately. I'm just going to go look. I see hi from the UK. Hey. Oh, I love watching your quilting. I feel that I'm learning so much from you. Oh, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys being here. I really do. It takes, like, I get so nervous before I start a live. I know that seems kind of silly, but it, you know, like, I'm just in my studio by myself talking to myself, and at first it feels very, you know, like it feels a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel a little bit weird. But I decided to try and do some more lives, just to, you know, get more used to being on the camera here. Plus, then you can see if I mess up, which is such a good learning experience for everybody. Because we all mess up. I mess up a lot. I do. I mean, you've seen a couple already today. But I think that's one of my favorite things about quilting too, is like everything can be fixed. Like nothing's too serious, right? Like I can always just take those stitches out and redo it. Oh, I'm really close to the top here. Think I'll make it? Oh yeah. And coming back down. Okay. Now you'd think that I would fill this in right now because I'm not going to be changing color thread, but I'm not filling this in because I want to be able to reach every spot of the cat's body when I get to it. So that's why I'm not filling this space in right now. You'd think that would be the right way to do it, but in my mind, I want to kind of complete some other sections first. And I've spent so long thinking about thread path and like what can I do to not break thread and what can I do and what comes next, you know, like you're just kind of sitting there staring at your quilt, but the reality is like just break thread, you know, like just break the thread. Like you'll get there faster if you just stop thinking about it and just give her. Like that is definitely the way that I found the fastest way to learn quilting has been just to quilt, you know, just get in there and do it. Because there's no sense in being fearful about, you know, well, what if I mess up this quilt? I mean, you will. Like that. Like it's not going to be perfect. You're not like a. Oh, I almost got my needle there. That was close. Anyways, you're not a professional quilter quite yet, or if you are, you know what I mean? Like, it takes practice. You can't just think you're going to be perfect at everything. I know I wasn't. It took me a really long time. I think it was almost 2 years for me to take in my first client quilt because I didn't stitch on my machine every day. I was scared of it. I was scared to mess up quilts, all of the things. Like, I had all those same feelings. And until I did start, developing a little bit of skills, and I realized, like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I should just quilt it. Maybe I should just give her and see what happens. And I haven't turned back. And my skills are growing all the time because of that mindset, in my opinion, of course. Yeah, I don't love looking at like the quilts that I've quilted years ago. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you look at them and like, oh, I'm so much better now. But it's kind of nice to look back and see how you've grown. I keep a quilt on the wall. I've got a quilt kind of up here that I did, I don't even remember, like 4 or 5 years ago. And there's just a sampler. And I've got 2 more samplers hanging in my studio that I've done over the years. And I keep them there just to kind of remind myself a little bit, like, this is where you were. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to come across here and stitch these stitches around the edges of the pajamas. And I'm doing that because I'm not going to be adding any extra quilting into these like little feet. So I'm just going to come along here, stitch these guys in the ditch just to keep it looking good, and carry on around. And obviously when I do my 1/2-inch echo around these legs, I won't be coming up in here either, so. I think stitching in the ditch is super important for quilts. Like, if you're going to be custom quilting, I kind of think that you should be stitching in the ditch. I know it's a difficult skill, and you can see, like, I'm not perfect at it either, but it's, in my opinion, a really important skill to have. It makes a much nicer finish. It gives a quilt a much nicer finish. Now, I think I'm going to stitch around this one too. I don't have to do it right now because I'm going to come back in here in a minute, but kind of in the zone with stitching in the ditch. And again, I'm just going to roll with how I feel. If I feel like stitching in the ditch is a good idea right now, I'm just going to do it. Break thread, come back later if I need to. Oh, these cats are cute. But I can see some of this little piecework. Like I said earlier, I'm working on the flamingo quilt by Elizabeth Hartman right now, so I know how tiny this little square is. Holy moly. When I make quilts, I mostly make like kind of like those trick blocks, like a disappearing 9 patch or something. I kind of like making faster quilts because I want to get to the stitching. I want to get to the actual long arm and get her quilting. But my family, like most of them, live in northern British Columbia, Canada, so that's where I'm originally from, actually. But so they all want like these really thick, warm quilts because it's cold up there. Anyhow, so I inevitably always have like Minky or Fireside or something like really warm on the back of all the quilts. And I don't want to do a bunch of really complex quilting on their quilts. So I just usually make them just really plain Jane quilts with a pantograph on them, honestly. That's the majority of the quilts that I make. All right. Okay. So now I'm just gonna, I like working left to right, so I'm just gonna come back over here. Actually, no, change my mind, sorry. I'm gonna stay over here. And stitch around. Oh, maybe not. Sorry, I'm changing my mind like crazy here. I guess I'm gonna fill in this pajamas next. That's what I feel like doing. That's gonna fit, yep. This is how my normal work day usually goes. Stitch down that. And I'm just going to fill this with a pretty simple stipple. You know, just again, I'm keeping the density just fairly consistent throughout the quilt. And again, the brief for this quilt was light custom quilting. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I love stippling too, by the way. Stippling is one of my all-time favorite designs. It just goes so fast and it gives such a brilliant texture to like these sort of like childish quilts, like these kid quilts. Like it's so soft. The lines don't cross over each other. I think it's a great texture. I know a lot of people think that, you know, stipple is such an old-fashioned design, which, I mean, I guess it is, the meander or whatever, but I've used it fairly successfully on some custom quilts. All right, and I am just going to stitch this little ditch here too. I think I might do one thread color change on this quilt, and I think I'll come back and do the cat faces at the end of the quilt, and I'm just going to be adding a simple line down the center and then back up, just because this is too big of a space to leave unquilted. And then I'll use like a black thread, come along here, outline his nose, but I won't stitch around the eyes because, again, light custom, not crazy custom. Gotta respect the brief, eh? Okay, now I'm just gonna check and see if I have enough space. I do. To get around the 1/2 inch outline here. Here we go. I did see somebody mention that they were in the UK earlier, and I really want to come to the UK. That would be so cool. I have never been to Europe, not yet anyways. But like I would love to come see your Birmingham show. That would be super cool one day. One day. So I kind of overshot this a little bit. I'm just going to stitch back like 1 or 2 stitches. And then when I come in with my filler, I should be able to hide those 2 stitches with my filler design. Let me just go. Do you see what I'm talking about? See those tiny little stitches there? Again, if this was my quilt, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But because this is a customer's quilt, I am going to come back and just kind of hide that with a little extra line of stitching when I come around to it. I'm not, I guess, super duper perfectionist, but I do like to do my best. And they're kind of awkward angles, but that's all right. I'm working okay here. When I'm using this ruler to like go over here, see I'm behind the machine, my body is right here. Like I'm standing off to the edge here, you know, so I can see where my ruler is. I'm also looking around a camera, so that's a little bit different, but that's kind of what I'm doing. And then I'll come stand over here when I'm going to do this angle. So my body is right here right now. There we go. up and match with this guy. Yahoo! Cool, cool, cool. Now I've got to figure out where I want to go next. If I want to fill in this area and then come into this area of the cat, then I'm going to have to roll the quilt, or I could just keep going down the quilt, but inevitably I'm going to kind of come to a natural stop here too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this area, then fill over here by the cat's face, then come back over here. See, like I'm breaking thread, I'm moving around, not a big deal. All right, so that's as far as I'm going to go here. Now, if you remember, I was up here. If you weren't here, I kind of had to stop because I ran into my belly bar right here. So this one's a little bit shorter or slimmer than the others. It's not a huge deal. We are working with Minky on the back, so it's not going to affect the feeling of the quilt too much, having a couple lines that aren't perfectly consistent. So I'm just going to put my needle down where I had stopped, do a couple of stitches right here, and just kind of carry on where I left off, like that. Now I'm going to just travel down here because I've got a lot of these shapes inevitably are semi-directional, you know, so I'm just going to start down here and just get some moving a little bit in another direction, just for interest's sake. I mean, I am going for obviously a bit of an organic feeling to all of this. I don't want this to feel too contrived. Yeah. Awesome. Now I'm going to break thread again. I should really time how long that takes maybe one day, because it's seconds. It's not very long. Sometimes, though, I end up with quite a few threads everywhere, though, which is kind of annoying. Okie dokie. So, again, I think I'm going to start down here by the cat's butt and work my way up. And I am going to have to come back up here, roll the quilt when I get up to that area. So I'm just going to fill this area in first. That's a heart. Oops. That's okay. I think that's actually kind of cute. We're going to leave that. Okay, so I have a feeling I'm going to hit this bar up here, so I'm just going to stop and roll back so I can reach all my space. Excellent. There we go. So now I can move on, and I'm going to go into the next cat, I think. Is going to make the most sense here. Into this orange beastie, or orange-eyed beastie. Very good. This isn't a terribly large quilt, and along the bottom, I am going to add another one of these swirls, but it's going to go the opposite direction because there's this big negative space at the bottom too. So I think that'll look pretty cool with them traveling kind of in different directions. So because I work on a small machine, what I do when I'm going to roll, and I'm going to roll quite a lot, I push my machine all the way up till it stops at the bar. And then I roll up until I kind of get to the place where I'm going to want to work next. And hopefully everything I want to fit will fit. So I'm going to fill this cat's body in. Yep, it's going to fit. Perfect. So now I'm going to tighten up my bottom. Not too much. Now, one thing about Minky is it does have quite a bit of sag. I know lots of people like really struggle with Minky. I just want to show you kind of what I'm dealing with here. I've got a lot of extra here. If I come off, see how it's dipping? It's dipping quite a bit. Like I've got quite a bit of excess there. So what I'm going to do is just going to kind of pull this. There's not so much over on this side. There's a little bit more on the other side. Just give that a little bit of a tug up here. So I'm tugging up this way just to pull the excess onto this bar a little bit. I could grab a magnet and put a magnet right here, which can be pretty handy. I just have to go grab it. Here's one of my big magnet bars. There. I just put a magnet there, and that's going to hold that up there. And that just holds a little bit of the excess out of the way. Excess. Yes, that's right. Let me come down here. It's not a very long stretch, but I am going to base this. Again, custom quilting, and especially since I'm not working really row by row, I'm kind of working a little bit diagonally. You know, so even the cats are offset, right? So it's just a little piece at a time. Got to take the time to do it right. But that's also why custom quilting, you know, costs so much money. There was, I don't know if you guys are following a lot of the Facebook groups, but there was a post on one of the Facebook groups this morning about, you know, how much should a person be paying for long arming? And I mean, that's obviously going to vary from place to place, you know, like it's never going to be exactly the same because we are setting our own prices, right? But I was pretty surprised, like, by some of the people, like, you know, I mean, we're making things by hand, and that there wasn't a lot of, you know, respect for the fact that it takes a lot of time, effort, skill, and equipment to do this part too, right? That's my opinion. But when you watch somebody work like you guys are, some people start to understand a little bit more. Definitely doesn't quite take as much time as piecing, not always anyway. Because it depends on the quilt. All right, so now just gonna smooth this a little bit. Get my ruler, smooth this over. If there's not a bulge here, but sometimes you can get like a little bit of a bulge, and you just push down right here to get rid of that tiny little bulge if you do have one. I didn't, but if you did. Okay. So now I'm just going to go take a look and see what I'm going to be doing next. Okay, so my workable area. I'm going to be working on this purple cat. I'm going to go around it, finish off that 1/2-inch echo, do the stitch in the ditch, and fill in the body. Yep. Okay. I like stitching in the ditch around something before I fill it in with my filler. I like seeing those seams lay really nice and flat before I come in and do the filler. Just so that, like, sometimes you might not get as close to that seam as you want to, or you'll get too close to the seam with your filler if you haven't stitched these ditches first. So it is nice to, if you can, stitch the ditches before you go back in with the filler designs. And again, I am just going to go around these guys. And I know that this pink color isn't the perfect match for all of these cats and all of their pajamas, but I'm trying to keep the cost of this quilt within the parameters of the brief. So that's why we're doing just this lighter custom quilting today. It can definitely be tricky to design something like that, right? Because also you have to think about your design time too. When you're thinking about, you know, what's the budget for this particular quilt or whatever. You know, like lots of times I'll spend a day or more, like 8 hours or more, you know, designing a quilt and marking it all out and making sure that I've got the right tools for the quilt and all of these things. But when you're working within, you know, a budget, you have to be careful not to spend too much time doing that. But a lot of that also comes with practice too, right? Like that's the whole, I guess the caveat of the whole thing is that, you know, the more time that you design and understand how much time it takes to design, the better at it you kind of get. It's definitely a skill. It's not something that came naturally to me either, honestly. It's been something I've been working on and developing too. Around these feet here. So I have been quilting this quilt now for an hour. I'm not quite halfway done. I'm so happy that people are enjoying watching this. I wasn't sure, like, you know, like I'm always concerned like people aren't gonna want to watch me live quilting and listen to me like just jabber on. I am quite literally just talking about random things that pop into my head. Sorry. Just in case I haven't mentioned it, because I don't think I have today, I am using glide thread. It works really well on my machine. This is a 40 weight. I really like to see the threads. Like that's why I like using the 40 weight thread. Okay, so I've come all the way around and I am right on the pajama. So I'm going to fill in this pajama body now, just so we know. But I like a 40 weight thread. I like being able to see the colors. I'm a bit of a threadaholic for sure. I can't seem to not buy thread. Like I think I've got more thread than I actually have fabric. Oh, I forgot to turn this light off. Sorry. There we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. But yeah, so I almost exclusively use glide 40 weights in most of my quilts. Sometimes I'll use like a lighter weight thread, like a 60, on a panel quilt, for example. Just something a little bit more subtle, because when you use a panel in a quilt, you want to see the panel, eh? Just fill that in. I'm going to stitch this stitch here. I said earlier that I'm going to come back to these cats' faces afterwards because I am going to do a slight color change just because it is so dark. Like lots of the cats are like these much darker fabrics like the black. So I don't really want to use the light pink on those. This is a custom quilt still, so I am going to do that just because I can't not do that. If you have ever struggled with stippling, I learned my stippling from Leah Day on YouTube. Check out some of her videos, like her stippling video. Like I was working on my domestic machine when I learned how to stipple, and I watched all of her videos, and she's just bloody brilliant, honestly. And she just really explains stippling so well in some of her videos. They might be some of her older videos because I know she's working on a Longarm now too, which is wicked. But yes, the stipple, that's where I learned how to stipple. I mean, I quilted on my domestic machine for almost 10 years before I got my first Longarm. I actually tried stitching on my domestic machine the other day, just to see if I could still do it. Oh, somebody gave me $5. Thank you so much. I didn't even know that was a thing. Oh, somebody gave me some more money. Oh, thank you so much for donating. I really appreciate that. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm not super awesome at technology. Oh, I wasn't supposed to go up there. I was supposed to go across. That's okay. Anyhow, what was I talking about? Oh, my domestic machine. I tried stitching on my domestic machine the other day. Oh my gosh. I actually quite enjoyed it. I mean, that's why I ended up getting a Longarm, right? I really enjoyed the quilting process, even on my home sewing machine. I think I'm going to have to fix this down here. I don't think I like that. Anyways, but yeah, I actually quite enjoyed, stitching on my domestic machine again, just for a couple minutes. I mean, like a couple minutes, all right? Like, I don't think I'm going back to the domestic machine anytime soon. But I was thinking about making a couple videos about it. Okay, so here's where I messed up. I got distracted by the chat, and I kind of went like in here. Oops. There. I kind of went in here with my thing, but I was really supposed to stitch across. And I think I'm going to come back and fix that because I think that's going to be something that's going to be just a little bit too noticeable in the next, when you're looking at this quilt as a whole. And I don't want that. That's something I think you'll pick out a little bit too clearly. See, it was supposed to be across like this. But I got too carried away. But thank you so much. I really appreciate the donation there. Okie dokie. So let's go back here. Want to watch me pick something out? Well, we're going to need some light. This is my favorite seam ripper. It's called a Seam Fix seam ripper. I'm sure there's other ones out there. The reason I like this one is just because it comes with this little like erasery sort of end here, which helps me pick out all the threads, the pokies. Okay, so I'm going to go back to about here, and I'm going to break the thread. Then I'm just going to use the tip of my thread, or my ripper, and just pick out a couple stitches. Then I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pull till I can see the stitches underneath. Oh, goodness sakes. I can't remember what color I'm using down there. Color am I using? There we go. I must be using pink. Oh. Yep, I can't quite see it. I'm going to come over here. All right, try again. I'm going to break the thread. Then I'm going to pick out a few stitches. Then I'm going to give it a tug till I can see that bottom thread. And I'm going to break it. There you go. See, and then how it released there. Oh, you can't really see too terribly well. Anyways, and then I'm going to just tug back and forth till I can see that bobbin thread again. Then I'm going to cut it again. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get this out. Oh, I really stitched good here. Oh, goodness. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so now, because that didn't work, my normal technique, what I'm going to do is just kind of pick out each thread as much as I possibly can until I can see that bobbin thread again, and just cut it whenever I see it. And if I don't see it, I'll just keep going, picking out the top stitches. And when the quilt comes off the frame, I'll look at the back and make sure that I've pulled the bobbin out. There we go. Now I've got it. There's that bobbin thread. Yeah, I really stitched this good, didn't I? I am also trying to look around a camera, just saying. Well, I cannot see it. There's like 3 stitches right here. Just 3. But I'm not going to rush. I'm just going to take my time because I want to be careful. Just have to move you just a little bit. Oh my. I stitched it good. Oh, one more gone. There we go. Got it. Got it. No problems. Everything's good. Give it a little scratch with my finger. And then I can use this little nubbin to grab any leftover threads. And if I turn this off, you can still kind of see where I was, but with a little bit of a scratch and a little bit of a rub, those lines pretty much disappear. Okay. Now I'm going to fix it. Fix it by stitching a couple stay stitches to stop this line from unraveling. Which apparently I'm very good at stitching, so I don't have to worry too much about that, do I? But I am going to go back and forth just a little bit right there. Line this up correctly this time and continue across till I match up to that one. Okay, then I'm going to, again, just do some stay stitching just there. Make sure that doesn't unravel. Then I can snip this. And, you know, I'm right here. I might as well just fill this in. That was fun. There we go. There's going to be a lot of starting and stopping here. Oops. Because we're getting in pretty tight, right? Like I've got to put a 1/2 inch stitch or 1/2 inch line around this cat's tail now too. So this is going to be quite thin here, which is totally fine. But, you know, like I've got to do some starting and stopping. That's why I filled in this cat's body first. So what I think I'll do is roll up a little bit more so I can stitch more around this cat. It's slow, but here we go. Again, I'm going to push this up so I can see where I want to roll to. About there, that's fine. And I can reach, you know, a good chunk of this cat here. And then I'll be able to kind of roll in and out and fill in this sort of area, this awkward area here. Okay. Smooth my quilt out. Make sure everything's looking good. Get rid of the seam ripper. We don't need that anymore. Oh, look at this cat down here. It's got a funny orange ear and a tail tip. Oh, cute. I think you could do an awful lot with this pattern and a bunch of fabrics, eh? It's very, very adorable. Okay, so now I'm going to come to this side. And you see this ripple that I've kind of got happening with my backing because I've kind of tugged it over. I'm just going to tug it where you can see. I'm going to tug it right here. See how much that smooths this out? See, that ripple's gone. So if I just give that a little bit of a tug, you could kind of leave it there, or you could put a magnet up here too, which is what I'm going to do. I just gotta go find one. There, found one. It's on my other machine. Here we go. So I'm just gonna put this magnet up here. There we go. And that, see that it's holding this backing nice and flat now. And as you can see, it's kind of eliminated some of the issues I was having right here for a second. So that's smooth. And I'm going to start at the bottom. I always like, we need extra backing and batting as long armors, but like I'm inherently like uber thrifty. Like, I don't know, just the way I am. I'm a thrifty girl. So I like to offset my quilting as much as I can. Like my client gave me this extra backing, but I still, instead of going in the center, I try to go to the side as much as I possibly can. So there's as much left over as you can get. You know, because like you could make a scarf out of this for somebody or something, or it's a nice big chunk to maybe make a little dog bed or a cat quilt, or, you know, like there's a lot of stuff you can do with those types of scraps. See, like I've got a lot less over on this side, which is still a lot though. You know, you still need to use what you have to do. Don't get too skimpy, because if you get too skimpy, because I have, trust me, then you just ultimately you can't do as good a job as you should be doing. Sorry, just getting this thread down. Yeah, so you don't want to get too skimpy on yourself. So I do have like a little bit of excess right here. So when I get there, I'm just going to use my fingers to keep this smooth, pressing down with my thumb right here. There, nice and smooth. Okie-dokie. Now I'm just going to get my clamps on. As I said, this is a minky backing, so I am using my regular clamps. Actually, these aren't even really, that's not a real regular clamp. When I got my second machine, so my machines are secondhand, and when I got my second machine, a set of the clamps was missing with it. So I kind of had to rig up some clamps from the Home Hardware, which worked out really well, actually. Just gotta buy nice tight ones. And then I just kind of threaded this elastic. So I just threaded this elastic through the slot here. And yeah, and it worked out just fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna check. Can I get down? I can stitch this one in the ditch, but I'm not gonna be able to add the line onto it, which is fine because I gotta work over on the other side, but I will stitch this one in the ditch first. And then stitch the body, because I'm right here. So, like I said earlier, I'm just making these decisions on the fly for deciding on thread path. I obviously planned the quilting before I got on live today. I knew that I was going to be putting that big swirl in. I knew sort of what designs I was going to be using and blah, blah, blah. But I don't ever plan out my thread path. I just find it ultimately just a big waste of time. Okay, no joke. I'm not sure. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. It's a little bit cloudy outside. And it's already getting dark. Oh, man. Winter. I don't even live that far north. Oh, my goodness. It's just a dark, dreary day. My husband and I are celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary in June of 2026. And I think we've decided to maybe go up to Dawson City in the Yukon for solstice. I think that's what we might do. Not positive yet, but it sounds like a pretty good time. And I've never been to the Yukon. I have lived on the Alaska Highway, though. I used to live up there. But now I live in a little town called Grand Forks in British Columbia, Canada. It's way nicer here than where I grew up. Weather-wise, like it's just nicer weather-wise. Getting into the zone. Does anybody else get into the zone? It's kind of funny. I usually listen to like a podcast or an audiobook. Or sometimes I even just listen to like YouTube drivel, which maybe that's what you're doing. I can totally understand how like the sound of the machine is like so relaxing sometimes though. Like it's nice to just like listen to the stitches, you know? It's like a meditation almost, maybe. Oh yeah. Ooh, whistles. Come across here. Back up there. All right. Now I'm going to fill in this one. Oh, man. Stipple just rips. Oh, yeah. Get her done. And, like, the thing is that these are pretty busy fabrics, you know, so you're not, like, when I turn the light on, you know, you can't really see it that much. Like, if I go turn on the studio lights, too. You know, so that stipple just kind of blends into what's happening with the fabrics. So it's not that big of a deal. Like if you hate stipple for whatever reason, that it still just blends in with everything. And that's another reason why I love it. Anyways. Okay, break thread here. Now, I'm not going to go around the outline right here right now because I don't want to, I'll have to roll in order to get under these feet. So I'm just going to travel across here and do, oh, maybe. Nah, why risk it? I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to go around this cat first because I want to be filling in some of the spaces here. Some threads. Oh, I gotta turn that light back on. Sorry, folks. I've done another Elizabeth Hartman pattern. I'm a sucker for these like cutesy patterns, I guess. But I also did the Sasquatch pattern, or like the big, I think she calls it legendary. So in Canada, we call it a Sasquatch. But in the States, I think they call it the Bigfoot. Or Bigfoot, just Bigfoot. But I really enjoyed that pattern. It's quite well liked out here too. I did it up for a raffle quilt actually that my guild is doing, and so we've had this Sasquatch quilt just hanging at the grocery store, or like at all the festivals and things like that. It's been pretty funny. It's drawn quite a bit of attention from not just quilters, but like from the little kids. They really think it's funny, and lots of the men think it's good too. So that it was a good one for the raffle. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to echo around this cat. And I'm also just going to take a second and I have a window over here. I'm going to open up these blinds because it's getting a little bit dark. All right, that's a bit better. Yeah. The sun was out and now it's gone. All right. So I'm just measuring there before I put my needle down. Pull up my thread and put some stay stitches. And here we go. I really appreciate everybody who's here today and like all the comments. I actually got my tablet running in the background, so hopefully I'll be able to scroll back and look at some of the comments afterwards. Sometimes I get nervous, like, is anybody going to even want to watch this? So I'm just really happy that there's some people here enjoying spending the afternoon with me. At least my afternoon. I think that's like probably the hardest thing about being like a long arm quilter is like you spend all day alone for the most part. You know, like sometimes I get a client come by and drop off, you know, a quilt or something like that, but I don't really talk to very many people during the day. Not too many. I kind of get into my own head, become a bit of a recluse. Thank goodness for the Quilt Guild. I can get out and go do something. I mean, I do have other hobbies too. I mean, everybody does. I really like camping and all the regular outdoorsy kind of stuff. But you know what, like this is something that I'm going to get into again. In the winter time, lots of times I will order myself a paint by numbers kit. Like just like the old school, like just 1, 2, 3, you know, like follow the color coded thing. And I love it because I don't have to be creative. I can just like sit there and just mindlessly, you know, do something with my hands, but it's not something I necessarily have to like be creative because I'm creative all day, you know, which I love. But sometimes you can get a little bit burned out, eh? So yeah, I've got one in my cart right now that I'm really excited about ordering because winter sucks. I mean, I like skiing and stuff, but I don't like shoveling. So now I'm just going to go and I'm going to fill in around this cat, and then I'll have to roll up and get in between the legs of the other cat. stuck there, so I'm just going to travel along and bounce back in. No big deal. So I'm just filling in this space. Okay, and now I can roll up. Oh, I gotta roll up quite a ways. I'm just gonna undo the clamps on the other side and move the clamps on this side just so I can get to where I can reach. Perfect. All right. Remember these little stitches here? Haha, hit those. Did you see? Remember I went over? See, I just added like a little bump, so it makes it look like it belongs. No big deal. Got a couple little ripples here, no big deal. I'm just going to be paying attention to them as I come up to them. Just going to kind of go through here. There we go. Come down a bit. Just paying attention, you know? They will normally work themselves out. There we go. Perfectly fine. Very good. Stay stitches, and where do I go next? Next cat, I think. Just bucking right along here. So I'm probably going to stop the live soon. I guess I haven't done the cat's faces, have I? Do you want to just see how I'm planning to do this cat's face before I go offline? Let's do that. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to start by finding a thread that's going to match all the cats, because I only want to choose one thread for all the cats. So this one's kind of a mottled gray. This one's like a two-tone gray. This cat's a black. This one's kind of gray. There is kind of this goldy one here. You can't quite see here. Just go like this. There's this goldy one, and then there's this kind of brownish one. So I think kind of like a medium gray sort of thread is going to work just fine on these cats. So that's what I'm going to go look for. Let's see. All right, this is the one I picked first. This one is called Pepper. Yeah, it looks good there. It's going to look good up here. It's not going to look as good on these brown ones, but it's just this one. I guess I could go with a little bit of a lighter gray. I'll grab a lighter one and see. Usually I'll pick my threads before I start planning a quilt, but I knew I wasn't going to be picking very many threads here. Okay, so this one is called Cool Gray 7. These are all glide threads, 40 weights. And it looks good up here. It'll look fine on the black, I think. It'll show up a little bit on the black. That's just fine. Looks good there. And it does look better on, you can't quite see, but it does look better down here. So I think I'm going to pick this Cool Gray 7 instead of the Pepper. So I'm going to quickly change my thread. To do that, I take the thread off of the back post. That's this pink I'm using. I'm going to snip that. This is cotton candy, if anybody wants to know. And then I'm going to put my gray thread onto the peg, and I'm going to tie the end of it to the snipped edge of this pink I snipped earlier. Going to tie just a regular sort of bowl knot there. And then I'm going to grab the tail of it that's coming through my needle, and I'm going to just pull this through all of the thread guides and through the tension discs. And I'm watching for that knot. There it is. There's that knot. Then I'm going to just kind of like pull the threads like taut against each other here. Oh, sorry, right here. I'm just going to pull these threads taut against each other here so it's nice and tight. Align it with the eye of my needle and right through the eye. Then I'm going to snip it, and we've changed the color of the thread. Excellent. So next, I'm going to grab a curved ruler. So this is, I'll just turn this light off here. This ruler is the Quilted Pineapple. This is the standard regular 10. And I think, yes, that's the one I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do for this cat face is I'm going to start up here. No, wait, maybe I'm not. Yeah, I am. I'm going to start right up here by his ear. So this is the seam line for his ear. And I'm going to use this curved ruler. I'm going to bring this down and hit the center of his nose right here. Then I'm going to stitch the ditch around his nose and stuff. And then I'm going to stitch all the way back up to his other ear. And that's all I'm going to do for their faces. Again, I don't want to get too much fancy quilting in here, right? Okay, so I'm just going to butt this up. When you stitch with a curved ruler, it's a little bit more tricksy to see where you're going to land. And I mean, I could try and give you a bunch of pointers, but the reality is you just got to kind of see it for yourself. Like, you're not looking at it from the exact same angle I am right here, right now. You can see it a lot better in my other YouTube videos, just because the angle's better. But you want to stay a 1/4 inch away, right? To accommodate for your foot, to land in the right spot. But because of the curve, it looks weird. And you just kind of got to give it a shot. Nailed it. Yeah. Sweet. So you just kind of see it. I landed right in the middle here, which is exactly where we wanted it to be. It's not always like that, but majority of the time, I usually get it pretty good. So now I'm just going to stitch these ditches here with this thread. And come back. I'm going to go around his nose. It's not the greatest color for his nose, but it's not bad. Back here, down here. And then back to his nose, okay? Then I'm going to get my ruler, and again, I'm going to line this up. I cover a lot of curved ruler stuff in my online course. I know this is a shameless plug, but that's the truth. And that's called Modern Quilting with Rulers. You can find it on my website, quiltingcurvestudio.com. Okay, so now I'm going to butt this up, and I'm going to try and see a 1/4 inch away from up here where I want to land. And a couple stay stitches. Nailed it. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to break thread. There. And that's it for the cat face. Now, if I was like super custom quilting this quilt, you know, I would add in some extra lines. I would stitch around these eyeballs, and I would probably do like a cool little swoop-de-doop with this darker thread right here, just to add in like that extra little design. But that's not what I'm doing today. So here, I'll just give you a quick show what it looks like. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this quilt is going. I'm about halfway now. I've got 3 more cats to do, and then the bottom. So not too bad. So thanks so much for being here with me this afternoon. I'm going to sign off. I need a cup of tea. So have a great afternoon, morning, evening. Not sure where you're at. Bye.